Welcome back, everyone, to the Fight Against Boredom Starborne's Players podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Fecca.
And I'm BranxBro. Hopefully a lot of players already know about the Starborne Academy by now, but we want to get the entire story today. So with us today, we have Valsmir, what we would consider a veteran of Starborne and the founder of the SBA, the Starborne Academy. Welcome to the show, Valsmir.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So, what's your Starborne history? When did you join?
I actually joined over in Alpha 9. I think it was Server 7. I'm not keeping track like a lot of you veterans usually do. But yeah, it was I think it was over in Server 7 when I started actually in Alpha 9.
In Alpha 9? Oh, I would have thought you've been around for longer than that.
Nope, I've only been here since November of last year.
So you're a fast learner then?
No, actually, I just run through tons of resources. I have an extreme collection of them, all the way from when the game started. I went through Google and all of the Starborne Discord, collecting any bit of information that I possibly could.
Oh, was there a lot around to find when you first started looking?
Yes, there was tons, actually. Quite a bit.
Really? We normally get, kind of the opposite. It's just maybe you're just a much better looker than most.
Trust me, I went into every single alliance that I could, and I went into every resource that I could. I researched the Starborne keywords in Google as much as I possibly could, found tons of videos, and it's ridiculous how much there actually is on Starborne.
How big of a portion would you say you found in the hands of alliances, like coveted information?
I haven't found tons of the coveted information from alliances. I have joined a few in the servers that I've been in, and they've allowed me access to some of that information as well, just so I had that for my resources and so I could help people try to learn. In the very beginning, it was a Discord server that I started up called Starborne Guides and Sources, and that is where I have my extreme list of resources and screenshots of tons of stuff. So
I now want to post the "Let Me In" meme. I want to add that. I'm interested now.
I will definitely post up a link. Let me get that for you guys here. I'll post it up in general.
Wonderful.
We actually have podcast text channel up now, if we want to use that.
Okay, perfect.
Biggles came through for us.
Time to
perfect.
Switch.
I will definitely get that up for people.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so I'm guessing, that's probably your natural, progression into Starborne Academy is you're kind of sitting around with all these guides and tutorials and, trying, I guess, your best way to spread that, right? For people that aren't as, good at searching as you are, or have put in the man hours to actually go collect all this information and join all these different alliances and such.
Correct. One of the main reasons why I wanted to do the Starborne Guides and Sources was just because I like information. I like hearing how other people play. I like hearing all the different strategies and types of things like that as well, which is part of the reason why I'm not that great of a player, is because I'm trying out all these different things and they don't mix well together. But no, with Starborne Guides and Sources, it just continued to grow and grow into multiple projects that I have. I think it's just because I have ADD. Yeah. So it turned into, okay, well, let's start a wiki. So I started a wiki, and then I started up the academy as a place for people to train and learn things. But I'm also working on a alliance manager for the website. It goes on and on and on, and I'm helping tons of people with these resources and things so that we can just improve what we have here at Starborne.
What specifically would you say the alliance manager entails, or what are you trying to get out of that?
The alliance manager was something that I was working on mainly to fix the issue of communication between alliance members. And that seems to be a really, really big issue because the leaders for alliances just don't know what's going on unless they have a Discord of their own, and they have to make sure that people are actually posting in it.
Right.
With the alliance manager that I am creating, it uses the Discord server, and they can do it with their own alliance using a tool called Titan Embeds, which actually embeds the Discord server on a website. So they still have a place to chat and go through their own Discord stuff as well while they're on a website completely separate from Discord. But one of the main portions of the Alliance Manager that I'm working on is a place where they can put in targets, Alliance station information, such as their operating limits, and that will also go for the Alliance members' stations. You'll be able to see what fleets that they have, so you know what's always available. And part of the main issue with it, though, is still getting people to do it. And this is something that I'm actually working with, and I'm hoping that Solid Clouds will release an official API for. And the API basically grabs information from the database and servers from Solid Clouds and allows things to update automatically. So with that, we would be able to get the fleet information, station information, FOB information. We would be able to get all that information and have it update automatically for the alliance leaders to be able to look at and use accordingly without having to have that interaction between all of their alliance members.
Yeah, that would be cool if there was a way to do that without people having to do it on their own. I mean, for example, we use a lot of Discord bots, but it requires people to really to buy into the concept and partake, put in their information, keep on updating, like for deploying to friendly stations, for who sends what, where, resources, ships, all that stuff. It works well because the people understand the need for it. But I feel sometimes some people are slow learners and they only understand the need when the mistake happens and they see how severe that mistake can be.
Exactly.
You lose like over 40 fleets because everything was over the labor cap now. Just because one dude sent ships in like the theme of I'm helping, but no, you didn't.
Exactly. And that's something that we're trying to fix too. We do have a guy that has connections with the API for Starborne. He's creating a phone app at the moment with that information. And that's something that we're trying to keep under wraps, mostly because we don't want people to abuse the information. We want to make sure that stuff is used properly and only to benefit or make things easier for you to do in the game, and to make it so people don't have to stay up 24/7 trying to organize things. So yeah, we're just trying to increase the quality of life for people here in Starborne with these apps and tools. And hopefully I can work with him with his API if I don't have access to the official Starborne API, just so we can make things easier for everybody else.
Do you think that this information stuff, like tracking information and interacting with each other's information, is a big hurdle for people to get into and stay in Starborne?
Yep.
So am I safe to assume that that's the leading reason for why you started SBA, or one of the like pillars, maybe?
Yeah, the main reason I started SBA was just because I've seen so many new players come in and they're like, okay, I just downloaded the game, I just got in there, what do I do? And that happens every single day. And that's something that we're trying to fix with the Starborne Academy, is for people to have a place to go to that has the information that they're looking for. If we don't have it, we'll research it and we'll make sure that you get the right answer for it. We've got tons of veteran players there. We've got Tristan, Fecca's on there as well, Controller, Stitched Fox, a lot of very, very good players there that are very, very knowledgeable, and we just want to make sure that everyone gets the correct information out of this. But yeah, a big problem is just getting people to not run away from the game because they don't know anything about it. So go ahead.
You actually take it to the next level too, right? You're not just, handing them the information and being like, this is where it's at. You're also, forming up alliances and bringing them to the game and really teaching them in real time. And I think one of the bigger ones too would be even like teaching a player that, hey, you should post, like you're saying, your fleet operating limits, or post your spy reports, or let us know how many ships you have, because that's something that's really hard to learn as well. So is that all stuff you're kind of interested in teaching as well, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Making sure that they know how to interact with their alliance and getting that information across to them, because it's very important for them to know. There's been a few things that we're trying to think out. We wanted to try to do it with the weekly servers that we used to have. We had it split up into 4 different phases where people would run through 2 weeks in the weekly servers, just learning the basic mechanics and how to manage their resources. And then the last 2 were trying to get through the mid-game and end-game portion of it. And then the phase 4 was to be able to run through an entire server as a competitive alliance going towards a win victory. We kind of had to adjust that a little bit into... but I'm trying to get it to where people run through one entire server for training. That way we can cover everything from beginning, mid to end game, and so that they can learn the different defensive strategies, as well as resource management, station builds, how they should try to go about things, how to look for station spots, because that's a big one that a lot of people are having issues with, and I'm hoping that I can get into that one a little bit better with them. But there's a lot of different things that happen at different times throughout the game, and I want to make sure that we cover every single portion of that as well.
So since when did the Starborne Academy officially start its business, so to speak?
Well, it actually just started running properly at server 7, and that's why I was in server 1, and our alliance got obliterated, so they were just going to jump over to server 7 and restart. So I told them, no, I can't do that. I have to start teaching these guys. They're ready. Their servers are open. So I came into server 7 and started an alliance with them, started the training process, and everything just exploded from there. We have 3 full alliances right now of training alliances, and it's not enough. We need more mentors and people to dedicate this time to teaching new players. Even though it takes away from them actually playing the game, you get a lot of gratification out of teaching these guys, and they are just so wonderful to work with as well. But definitely we need more mentors to help with this. Exy was one definitely that came in and just jumped right in there. Oh, I'll teach a group, and I was so happy at that as well.
So would you say you did too much marketing for your own good?
I barely do any marketing. These guys started marketing for me.
Delegating of it.
Yes, and that's something that I've been trying to do. I've been trying to get the mentors to be able to take over that role of teaching, so I can get a lot of the other projects that I have. I'm trying to build a website. I'm trying to build these tools. I'm trying to help these other people build tools. Even in I don't even remember now.
So one of your biggest hurdles would be just personnel, people that would help you with teaching newer players. Is that correct?
Yes, that is the biggest issue we have right now, is being able to teach everybody that comes into us, because we just don't have the room. But that is one thing that I'm actually working on as well, which is another one of my projects that I can't get to if I'm teaching, is we are trying to also create interactive tutorials. And I'm sure a lot of you have actually seen the tutorial at the very beginning of a server. and walked through that. It was horrible because it just kind of just stops.
All 5 minutes of it, yeah.
If it doesn't
So-
bug out and just
Yeah,
stops
exactly.
you from achieving anything.
Exactly. So, but this is one of the things that I'm actually working on personally as well. I have some software that I can use to record what I'm doing inside the game. So I did it with the opening tutorial, and it walks through it just like you're inside the game, but it's in an application that I can put on a website. So people can learn the steps and processes to things outside of the game, and then they can apply that knowledge in the game. What it would do is it would go through a short video, show you how to do it, what you need to do, and then it would be that interactive part where you actually do it with this tutorial app. But you're not inside the game, but you still have to click on, okay, shipyard, and then build the Corvette fleet, build the scout fleet, and so on. And so you're actually going through those actions outside of the game so you know what you're supposed to do inside the game. And we can do this with any type of scenario, whether it be combat, whether it be building the Alliance station, whether it be defending a Dyson sphere, or any of those aspects of the game we can do with this as an interactive tutorial as well.
I mean, it sounds, especially for the beginning steps, so the very first steps, I think that's where, from in my opinion, that's the most valuable. Because if you, like, right in the beginning, do something wrong with your ships and they're locked out because you only have the 3-minute grace period of, like, recalling them from a movement, and then you just have to look at them for, like, an hour or two straight, or however long, like however big your mistake was, and you can't really progress that much, and it could feel like so bad. But if you already know to not make that mistake or be kind of careful, I think that, yeah, that's something I hear every now and then from people. Like they do a couple of things in the beginning, and then they're like, okay, I don't know what to do, I'm just staring at the screen, what do I do now? And you kind of try to guide them through this stuff, and they're like, no, I can't do that because I did this one thing already. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, you kind of messed up.
Yeah. When we're teaching the beginning portion of the game, we try to leave it as open as we can so people still have their choices of what they want to create and what they want to do. But definitely making sure that they at least push it in the right direction. Such as, well, you're definitely going to need your industrial ships, so it's important that you build those or else you can't build a second station. You know, information like that is very important for them to know, and they can choose when they want to do it, but knowing that that information is going to be coming up, we just want to prepare them for that beforehand. But after that, it's mainly what they choose to do with the information we give them.
It's definitely one of those things where it's kind of hard to know all the things you don't know yet until you start doing a couple of mistakes, and then it's kind of an eye-opener, like, oh shit, there's just so much stuff out there, so much information, that the quite a complex game in a sense, that I feel that a lot of times people just, they only start learning once they sadly made a mistake that makes them realize that, oh, I thought I knew, but I don't.
Yep, and that's something that we're trying to avoid the new players from happening and getting into, is by mentioning, okay, this can happen, and here's the problem with it. This is what you might want to do so you can avoid that issue. But by doing that, we've been able to keep quite a few people actually playing the game rather than just quitting, and it's been great. I would say, personally, we have over, I would say, about 85 to 90% rate of people just staying with us.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That kind of gets me to one of my favorite topics, is always talking about, the attrition of players and how can you really win the long more by keeping players involved and keeping them up. So it sounds like you guys are doing a pretty good job at that. And that's one thing I've kind of attributed to our success as well, is you can plan so much better and you can do so many more things if you have your 15 guys before the server starts. They're going to all stay for the full server. You can do some really fun, cool things with coordination. You don't have to worry about, like, oh, if we build the Alliance station in this guy's claim, well, is he going to stick through the whole server? So are there any other tools or things or tips you could give to like maybe some other alliance leaders that are, having half their guys drop out maybe right now? I think we're feeling a little bit of a lull in server 1. Anything like that?
Mainly the most important part of just keeping your alliance together is just communication. Keep talking to them, let them know that you're there. If they need help, that you're there for them, and guiding them in the right direction. Because I still think even with some of the veteran players, once they get into an alliance, they're looking to their alliance leader for direction. Right. And if they don't have that, then they just stop, and it's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? And people get really tired of that, and then it's like, okay, well, I have no idea what we're doing, so I'm just going to go. And I think just keeping people together is just about communication, really.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest tips I always give is communication, and I guess like being on the same page, managing expectations, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yep. If you're open about what you want to achieve and what you're not that don't care that much about, and the things you really care a lot about, so just people understand what they're in for.
Yep.
I think a lot of people that are completely new to the game are probably going to be surprised about what they're actually in for. I did not expect all the stuff that Starborne entails.
Neither did I.
Completely caught me off guard.
Neither did I. When I first started, I was looking at things. It's like, okay, there's not a whole bunch of features in here. It seems pretty simple. And then once I started really doing the research and pulling up all the resources that I did, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this game is ridiculously deep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, without a doubt, there's layers and layers. And I think that's one of the more like the cool things that keep coming. It keeps veterans playing server after server is, oh, man, well, there's still something to learn. Or right at the end of that server, I realized this was happening. And you just get into it and it pulls you back and back and back.
Oh yeah, it's definitely grabbed my attention. I spend like 18 to 19 hours a day on it, and just working on these things, working with people, working on tools, and even the entire time that we were down after the flu server, I was working on this stuff.
Yeah,
it never stopped for me. And that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to it, definitely.
Now, just maybe a little more of a personal question. Did you have a game like this before that you put this much time into as well? Or is this solely a Starborne phenomenon for you? Just as far as your personality-wise?
One of the other games that really caught my attention before was definitely EVE Online. And that is just because of the size of it, the depth of it, and the amount of people that they can have on a single server. The possibilities are endless. Just like in Starborne, you don't have just one choice to make. You can make 20 different choices, but they can all be correct.
Yes, that's exactly it. I was waiting for that punchline. That's what people always ask me a question like, well, should I do this or this? And I'm like, I mean, you can do that, yeah, but what's better? And I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna do this, do you have like 45 minutes for me to sit down just this one decision you're about to make? Yeah.
It's more of what we're trying to do also is make sure that, they know it's not necessarily better if you do it this way. What works for you and what works better for your play style. Some people have more time, so they can do raids and solar flares all day long. Other people don't. So an MPL position might be better for them where they can just kind of set things and then walk away from it and leave it. But they can still all be very, very valuable inside the game, no matter how much time they actually dedicate to it.
I think Krillian, the Crayon Man, made a good point previously where he said, like, you only really learn that in-depth stuff once you make certain mistakes. And I think that's something that I'd like to tell to people, that just don't be afraid of actually making a mistake every now and then, like taking a risk, trying out something new. You don't know what you might discover, or just the creds you might get for trying something risky. You'll get a lot of props for that as well. And yeah, we are humans. Definitely. A lot of times we learn the best when we made mistakes. Like, those are some of the best learning opportunities.
Definitely. I make them all the time still. That's why I still consider myself a noob. I don't even know what niche I'm into yet. At first, I started as an industrialist, and then now I'm a Zaok player, and I don't even know where I'm going with it. So it's I'm trying out and different things and testing out the different waters to see where I really fit in first before I make that dedication into a specific area.
So
and then even when you dedicate, you end up playing the next server, and you just end up playing something else. You can just teach that along as well. So.
Exactly. Well, not only that, but learning all these different play styles as well. I can be well-rounded and say, oh, and hey, no, look, in this section, you want to kind of do this because that'll help you here. It just makes me very versified in a lot of the different places that people can go to inside the game. I'm one of those jack of all trades type people. I'm never a master of any.
I mean, there's so much replayability with this game due to all the choices you can make when it comes to faction policies and like how you specialize or not, right? Just go complete utility. I have quite a few ideas in my head for what I want to do in future servers, like try out certain play styles together with certain choices I make and just see how it works out. And yeah, that there's still so much to learn, and it's at this point an ever-changing game.
Yep.
So you previously you talked a lot about like third-party software that you're doing and patches. I'm kind of curious what you got cooking there, dude.
Okay, so some of the third-party patches that we're actually working on is one of them is with Minguez. He has been working with me on trying to fix the unending processing errors of Starborne with a computer, because I run literally at like 4 frames per second most of the time. And he's been helping by doing something that actually kind of goes against the terms of service with solid clouds. But we here at SBA are definitely making sure that we don't cheat or use anything against other players in the wrong way. We just want to make sure that the quality of life is better. And a few things that he's been helping me with is increasing the view range, because I know it's a hassle for people when they see something on their screen, but it's not actually there. Such as solar flares on the very edge of your screen. If you can't see them, it's not there, even though it may actually be there.
Yeah.
But he worked on a thing where it increases the view range, and you can see that the solar flare is actually there, and it's just a lot easier for the players quality of life wise. But there's also a lot of other portions of the game that suck up resources on your computer, like the little ships roaming around and harvesting all the mineral fields and everything.
Harveys?
Yes, Harveys. I don't like them at all. I hate them, and I'm so glad.
Get out of here.
Well, the reason being, people are zoomed out so far most of the time, they don't even notice that they're there.
Yeah.
And it's still sucking up your resources for your computer. And that's one of the things that he's been helping me with. He actually has the patch where it removes those ships, so it's not being processed by your computer. And to me, it's just great. It makes my computer run slightly faster, not by much, but just slightly, which is enough to make the game more enjoyable just for me even.
So it's optimization stuff that you're working on.
Exactly. And this is something that we plan on bringing up with Solid Clouds too. I've already posted the view extended range in the forums, just because it'd make it that much more enjoyable and easier for people to work with inside the game. But we've also been talking about being able to toggle on and off those different animations that aren't really necessary to be able to play the game. And that way they can just work on their strategy and everything like that without their computer dying every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Like I've started looking at like just the kind of resource hog Starborne is. And even though I can manage it, it's ridiculous. And I hope that they look more into giving us options to downgrade the graphics, make it run smoother on our systems, just giving us those options. Because as you said, most people don't know that the little harvester ships are there until you like zoom in and you see them and you fall in love with them and you don't know how you manage to live without them. But let's be honest, they're cute, but I don't need them.
I'd rather blow them all up with gunships and destroyers. And
No, but interestingly enough, when they actually first released the feedback bot in Discord, the first few to ever hit the top of that starboard were actually all based around guess making the graphics a little bit like lighter, or like making a black background. Or one I put up there was like, if you've ever played like Civilization series like Civ 5, there's like a strategic view or something like that. It turns everything to 2D tiles.
Oh, I would love that.
And I was like, man, that'd be the coolest thing ever, because you don't actually need the graphics for a game like this. Now, immediately, some of the developers came up, and I think it was like Richeria or something like that. Sorry if I butchered the name, but he was like, "You guys are killing us. Like, this is our selling factor, right? This is what makes us different than all these other strategy games, right? It's a living board, right? And that is a pretty solid point. So I kind of do understand why they're not like rushing at the seams to put out, you know, a crappy 2D like version of this game for people to see, because you know this is pulling in. But I do think there is some middle ground there, right, where you turn off the Harveys, turn off, you know, a lot of the animations. Let me hide the missions don't need to be pinging all over the place. I'm interested if these new border claimers have been affecting it too. You know, that's maybe a new research.
I'll gladly go down to 1 FPS if I get my void claim pointer.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that one still is waiting for release, right? Like the that wood one, the yeah, it'd be worth one FPS.
Yeah, but definitely trying to implement just a way to be able to toggle them off if it's not really an absolute necessity would be very important for a lot of new players too. It would bring in so many more people if they could just run the game, and that would be great. So
at least like a browser version. I think that it's been something on their and their scope or whatever. I would love to see this in a browser version where, you know, God forbid I'm at a friend's house or someone, I can just pop it up, you know, on the browser. Or if I go visit my family, I don't have to, you know, make sure I have a computer that can actually run the game. And in those situations, I imagine the browser version would have to be toned down anyway. So I'd be very excited to see progress on that, or be going that direction, because you're right, it is a free game, right? You can just get as many people that can download it, that can get it in their hands, can play it. So it is a huge, in my opinion, also marketing play to also play to the people with lower graphics resolution.
I agree, definitely. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up with our tools, though, is that we have a mobile app where, and it's wonderful. I absolutely love being able to see if I'm being attacked at 11 o'clock at night when I'm trying to go to sleep.
Is that the one that's been on Reddit?
Yes, it is. The creator Erexnix. And I've been working with him to try to improve things based upon the information that we need to know. With one of the things, how do I put it? The notifications that's on there. It lets you know when solar flares happen, because you're getting the in-game notifications as well. But we adapted it slightly so you know what the distance to the closest station is for those solar flares.
Wow.
It's wonderful to have. And once again, I'm still hoping that we can get the official Solid Clouds API to work with this, rather than having to kind of go around the bush and do it ourselves. But once again, it's always still just trying to increase the quality of life for our players, and we will never use this stuff to take an advantage over anybody else, or to try to research what their information is, such as a advanced Tian Chao spy report.
Right. And I think it's important to note, you have been working alongside, you know, talking to Solid Clouds employees and letting them know what's going on. And this isn't something, obviously you're talking about it on a podcast, it's not something behind closed doors. And the fact that you guys brought it to the attention at least lets everyone else know, you know, this is a possibility. So I hope if anyone else is doing it, they kind of take that precedent that you guys are setting, at least while it's still open, to, you know, be open, honest, straightforward. So I really commend you guys for doing that and kind of doing it as right as you guys possibly can.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. yeah, it's definitely a portion of it that can come to a very, very bad term if you don't do it properly. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that these things are staying in the right course. So,
Yeah, it's always.
With all of that in mind, what are your plans for like the foreseeable future? Let's say next like 6 months to 12 months, when it comes to SBA and the third party stuff.
the plans that I have for it is mainly I want to get the website up and running properly. That way I can put the tools up there and make sure that people have access to them. I've already got some of the spreadsheets and stuff that LotP's been creating, and a lot of the videos that Feka, you have been creating. And I've been trying to get, like I said, I've been collecting all of these resources just to make sure people have access to it. And that's where I plan on putting it, is up on the website, so people will have this information available to them easily. And this is where also the Alliance Manager will be taking place at. And alliances can create their group, and they can just work with each other there to make things a lot more easier for themselves as well. One of the main things that I would like to see for the SBA also is just that we have a method to teach more people than what we are currently able to. Like we mentioned before, that's one of the biggest hurdles, is just being able to take everybody in that's wanting this instructions and these just being able to learn the game in an easier pace, and having somebody there to say, hey, no, maybe you should put your outpost over here because you can harvest more resources for it. And what you look for is based on the point system of the resources, you can count it out. But that's just one of the things that I think a lot of the people really need to get information on, and it's hard to do that if we can't do that for them inside the game without more mentors to be able to do so.
Yeah, it seems to me like you have to teach new players a system, some meta systems that many of us use to like parse information, so they can understand what we're talking about when we teach them, like the values of outpost placement and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be some quality of life improvement for the game that you would most like to see?
Me personally, it's mainly just information. And that's really it. The stuff that I'm working on is just to increase quality of life, like the information that alliances need in order to even run properly. If they can put that inside the game, great. I would love for them to do that, so we don't have to use these third-party tools, and we don't have to use these websites and things like that. That is a major portion of why people don't understand the game, is just a lack of information. If all of that can be implemented into the game, that would be awesome.
Right. That's on the flip side. I really do hope, by you guys doing this, it does kind of push them in that direction. And that's what I've kind of hoped with the Discord bots too, where if like, oh, we're making all these Discord bots, look how useful they are, and kind of pushing it to the devs and be like, look, this is what we really like. Like, can you implement this? This is what we're doing in the meantime, but give them that little shove, like, we're doing it, and you just make it for everyone.
Yeah, like they
Definitely
used to show us the fleet operating limits on allied stations when we had ships there, so we could see like how close are we to like going over the cap. That information is now gone, and it's killing me. Instead of giving us more information, you're giving us less in such a critical place as well. Please.
Yep, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the value of Tian Chao in your group has increased even more. You just spy friendly stations to figure out what's going on.
People should not have to do that.
No. I don't know if that's a selling strategy. I hope not.
Right, yeah.
It might be. It might be. In order to run your alliance, you have to buy this faction.
Yeah, but I mean, one big good quality of life thing they just added was the alliance assaults. Now, any alliance assault that happens, your whole alliance can see it, and I love that direction. I don't even think that's something we asked for, but we got.
Oh, the combat report, the alliance-wide one.
Yeah. Oh my god, So they took away fleet movements, but I guess we eventually got that. So like, they giveth, they taketh away.
Yeah. One of the things that I've absolutely loved that they implemented was the pins.
Oh yeah.
That makes things absolutely amazing for these newer players. I can show them on the map, where they might want to be able to place their outposts, as well as where their stations would be best placed, but also being able to see where they choose as well is just absolutely amazing, because I can look at it and be like, okay, well, why do you want to choose that spot? What are your plans for the station? And just getting that information from them is a lot better with those pins there.
Yeah, it's one of the devs said once, like, it'll be interesting to see, like, how when we get used to the pins, will we wonder how we ever were able to play without them? And I'm definitely at the point, like, how it's just we use that to show each other where we intend to place stations, or just to track enemy FOBs, stuff like that. It's such a good way. Like, I don't ever want to play this game without pins ever again.
Yeah, I really agree with that.
So that's a change you like that they did. Is there something that you dislike going from alpha into beta?
Ridiculously powerful NPCs. But
which hopefully should be changed here. Like,
yes, and I was happy to see that announcement come up. But no, I think actually one of the main issues that I have with the game and the change from alpha to beta is the map. And that's mainly because it's kind of turned into a rush towards the center type thing. And it really got away from the open choice of where you wanted to go. People are just kind of driven to, okay, go towards the center from your starting location, and based on where you started, you only have like 2 to 3 options, and that's about it.
That's an interesting take, because I commonly look at it the other way, where on the previous app, I always felt like it doesn't really matter which way we go. We're going into someone that's just set up. I don't actually have anywhere to go, and I guess I'll kind of sit in my sector, or I go be a big bully that has to just go knock over another sector. And so, to me, I've felt I've gotten a lot more choice, actually, where I get it's generally go for the center, but I've actually kind of even went off to the left. I'm kind of like went from Taurus to Virgo. I haven't really had it much towards the center, as some people have. I guess the mechanisms people specifically would. I felt like I had a lot more choice, so that is an interesting take on it.
Probably pros and cons, right? Like, there's a bit more thematic to the map now, instead of just like 19 sectors all just rotated by 60 degrees. Whoop-de-doo. There's not a theme to the map, and actually it looks a certain way. It looks more like a spiral galaxy, right? It's wonderfully drawn. But
another issue I have with the map is that you can find repeating locations everywhere.
What do you mean by repeating?
For instance, there is a spot where I have one of my stations that you can reach 8 planets and moons, and you can reach 5 planets and moons with a mining colony. And it's set up right in between 2, I think it's the Tian Chao NPCs. But if you zoom out of the map some and you look at it, you can find that exact same setup in multiple locations.
But that's something you had on the old map as well, right? Every sector had
every sector was the same, but it was just rotated. And so one of the problems is, once you knew that location, you could find it everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, one thing specifically where I've seen where it hasn't been repeated is people have been joking about how lame our Virgo ice belt is, and being like, "Oh, we found like 35 spot over here, 35," and they look at the Virgo one, and it's like, "Oh man, it just randomly spawned in a bunch of really small ice nodes like all over the place," which has been interesting. But yeah, there's definitely some patterns that goes around. I see a lot of like the level 2 NPCs that have like the large moons and stuff. If you can set them up right and they're the same spot kind of around the map. But
Yep.
as far as less repeating, I have been happy with it. Are there any changes you would like to see to the map to make the spiral map something more interesting for you?
I would like to actually see things more dynamically created, where because I've also asked a few people, does this map repeat throughout the servers? And it does.
Yeah,
So if you know the location, once again, you can just go straight to it the next time.
I would love to see it mixed up as well, where every server was a different map.
Exactly, where it was just dynamically generated at the very beginning of the server, where you have certain areas that you can keep the same amount of resources in, but I would like to see it switched around and dynamically generated to a point where if there's a resource node there, the next server there may be nothing there at all, or the next server there may be a planet there.
From
That
what
would
we've been
make
told, that's actually what they can do with the map, and that's what it's designed around. Like certain hexes are designated as being occupied with certain chances of what it might be. And then the map got created, and basically, I guess you could call it a seed. It got seeded a certain way, and then they took that same map and just put it on every server instead of like rolling the dice again for every server. Why they did that, I do not know. I hope that they would just roll the dice for every server.
I agree with that.
Which is something we saw, though, even in the previous servers with the 19 hex map. They kept the same map every time. So I do hope to see them generate it up, mix it up, and that would add even more to the choices, which, once again, I'm still in the boat a little bit where I think I have a plethora for myself, more options. And maybe it's just because I played so much on the 19 hex map that I just felt my options were limited. I was like, okay, we're going to do the same thing every time. Whereas now I'm kind of vibing. But yeah, I would definitely like to see a mix up, especially because now that we know, the Virgo belt's a little lackluster. You might have pre-mates jumping on a different one or finding the mathematically best one. I know it's a lot of work, but Starborne players have a lot of time when they sit there and just look at cubes. So they would do it.
I mean, I've been told from some people that they would go on server 1 or server 2 and look at some of the spots that the top players have taken, maybe even probe the spots and see like, okay, outposts here, outposts there, trying to figure out what the player did with the spot and figure out what some of the high value spots were, and then they would go into a new server and just rush that spot. Which is something that you can only do because of them kind of being the same. If it would all be more randomized, you would have to look at the map every time you play and try to figure out where you want to go based on what the map turned out to be.
Yeah. I see here that Trist said that resource fields are randomized a bit in every server, which, yes, they are to a degree. If there is a grand planet there, it will cycle through the what grand planets are there. So the resource may not be the same in the exact spot, but the fact that you can still get the same amount of resources by placing your station in exactly the same spot, as well as your outposts in exactly the same spots, that becomes a big issue.
So the distribution is different, but the sum total is always the same?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going off what people tell me because I'm a one server kind of guy. I only play server 1 and I haven't even looked at any other server. So yeah, I should have confirmed this beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard they may be switching the resource nodes up a bit, but to me, it's really arbitrary, right? Like for me, I'm looking for a 19-point spot or whatever the number is, right? The resources come and go exactly what they are. To me, it's a very minor difference that I'm just not.
Yeah, and see, that's where I think being able to place those things in a specific way is just, they really need to switch it up. So you can't do it exactly the same way each time.
True. All right, we're drawing up to the end here. So do you want to do a plug for the SBA and your plans for the future?
What do you mean a plug?
Well, plug yourself, right? It's an avenue for you to like do some marketing. Cough, cough.
Are you planning on any upcoming servers? Or are you guys planning on, I think you said earlier before we started the podcast, you guys actually have 3 servers going. If you want to talk about which servers those are, how they're going, and kind of some servers you plan on playing in the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have 3 training alliances going at the moment. One in server 7, SA Academy or S Academy in training. That one is the one that I'm running at the moment. Tristan is running one in server 8, and Exy is also running one in server 8. How they plan on running their alliances, I'm not really too sure, but I'm going to kind of stick to my own for when we finish server 7. We plan on playing it completely through, and then I want to join into a different server with the same group of people and try to go for a victory condition. Which one it is, I'm not really too sure yet, based upon what the NPCs have. But yeah, I definitely want to make sure that we keep going into different servers and pushing our limits with it.
Is the SPA going to be on every server from now on?
I would hope so, but we just don't have enough mentors to be able to do that. Especially with the time and dedication that it takes to be able to train people. You can only do one server at a time.
Yeah, I'd assume that. Maybe
So,
like I don't know. When I think about doing it in the future, I'm kind of thinking of wanting to do it in tandem with somebody, like tag teaming. Certain time zone I'm on, certain time zone somebody else is on. Maybe that would like relieve the pressure a bit.
one of the things about the way that we're trying to teach people is you don't have to be on all the time in order to make it work.
What? Wait, what? Can you wait? Hold up. I don't.
No. No, you don't have to be on all the time to make it work. And mainly because when you're training people, you're not trying to push yourself into getting into battles and trying to manage the battles and everything like that. I plan on doing that with these people just myself. In order to get the attacks and defense strategies, I want them to attack me or me to attack them, so that they can play around with it and actually learn those strategies without having to get into a big ol' alliance battle with some other alliance. So I'm doing everything I can to keep people out of alliance wars. But that makes it that much easier on me to just set a couple orders inside of a certain channel in the SBA. I can say, okay, this is what we're working towards. This is what you need to do. And if you have any questions, just come talk to me. And here's a couple tips that you can use while working towards that goal. And then I can just let them go. They do it. And when it gets to a certain point where I feel that they've come really close or accomplished that, then I help them with the next goal that we are working towards. But other than that, I don't have to be on there constantly.
See, that's a lesson I still have to learn. I sometimes have to wrestle myself away from the game. It's sucking me in so much.
Mm-hmm.
I might have an issue.
Well, if that works better for you.
Tell me. Good.
All right. Thank you for coming on today and telling us about the Starborne Academy and some of the third-party stuff you're working on. It surely does sound like there's a lot coming in the future from you guys. Definitely something I want to keep an eye on and would recommend other people to keep an eye on.
There is one more thing I want to add is I've been talking with Exorbitant, and we are trying to get it to where you can get a badge in the game after completing our training.
Ooh.
That'd be cool.
And supposedly I heard from Snoogums that they're possibly going to be trying to add or no, it was from Exorbitant, that they're trying to add bonuses in with the badges that you get as well. And I'm hoping that we can get a little bonus to experience added on our badge when it's created. That way, new players can get a little bit of a boost ahead of the veterans in the beginning of the game.
That sounds interesting.
Oh, for sure, man. It's really exciting to see what they're going to do with this badge system in general. I'm really excited to see the future of that. I know Gretter's really been pushing for that and asking for cool ideas, so that definitely sounds cool to me.
Yep.
So I'm just going to have to start collecting badges now.
Yes.
Another meta game.
But All right, I'm going to play the outro music. Thank you guys so much, all the guests that listen to it live, all the people that are listening to it on YouTube. And once again, thanks so much, Valsmir, for coming on and hanging out
You're
with us.
welcome. You're welcome.
Pink Nihilus, Craig's not here to say bye to. Everybody will be in Everyone Welcome up at the top. Hang out for a little bit longer for any other questions.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.